The Electric Forest 2024 lineup has dropped.
Phase 1.
Phase 1. This is phase 1.
To clarify.
Important to note, this is not all the names that will be there. What we did is went and explored the undercard. We broke down this lineup by genre, basically just artists that are kind of related to each other.
Like artists. We try to do genre.
But
there's a lot of ambiguous artists who don't like genres.
That transcend genres. Really, these are broken down by genre, but it's going to be basically artists who sound alike. So we're going to just kind of break it down so that way you can start exploring the undercard, maybe find some new artists because there was a lot of actually really good stuff. We saw a lot of people online saying that this lineup was mids.
The worst they've ever seen.
The worst they've ever seen, quote.
I don't agree. I think it's fine. I think it'll be fun. It's a good mixture of people.
We got a lot of different genres. What do you want to start with?
I want to start with a disclosure that these are our opinions.
These are our opinions.
These are our opinions.
Yeah, like we just said, genre is very subjective. A lot of people transcend genres. We're going to lump some people together that you might disagree with. If you do, that's fine. We are not experts in all these people either. This was just us doing a little bit of research and a lot of how these artists describe themselves. That's not always how people like to classify them. If we're wrong in any way, shape, or form, comment below. Or if you want to link together some other artists, because again, we aren't super familiar with all these artists. A little peek behind the curtain here. We struggled a lot with the house classifications.
Because I wanted to be much more specific. House is a very subjective genre where you can usually tell when something's house, but what version of house are you actually listening to?
Right.
That may be slightly off for some of you. This is just what we classify as them. We did also look up what artists classify themselves as.
If they call themselves that, that's kind of what they are.
That's all I really care about when I was looking through people. If I considered them something and they consider themselves something else, I put down what they consider themselves because that's more important to me than what I think.
Exactly. That's our disclaimer. Let's rip the band-aid off, Jawz. Let's start with the jam bands, okay?
Yeah, perfect. I love starting with jam bands.
We're gonna start with the jam bands.
That's what we're least excited about.
That's what we're least excited for. Let's just rip that band-aid off. First up, obviously, the string cheese incident.
It's their festival. They have incidents. Go on Saturday. We've never gone on Saturday.
That's apparently their big shebang.
People get mad at us every year because we've never seen a string cheese Saturday event. We always have other people we want to see, or we're exploring the forest, and Josh is really not a jam band person. I can get along with it.
I'm anti-jam band. I tried with string cheese the first year we were there. I sat there for like 20 minutes and it felt like an eternity. Not a big fan, but if you like jam bands, obviously string cheese is the big one. It's their festival. Next up, Disco Biscuits. They're also a jam band. We're not going to dive too much into all of the ins and outs of all of these.
Because we know very little. I know more about the Disco Biscuits than I think any other one, but there's definitely more electronic influence there. I'd say very Squabby-esque.
So they got a little funk to them. Yeah. Then Humphreys McGee. I don't know anything about them.
Nope, me either.
They're just a jam band. Then we got Lettuce. We listened to a little bit of Lettuce, didn't we?
Yeah, Lettuce isn't bad. There's a lot of saxophone, so
yes,
I feel like if you are okay with jam bands and you like Grizz adjacent kind of electronic music, you'd probably like Lettuce, realistically.
Then we have Dumpsta Funk,
which I love the name of, but I had not heard of them until this lineup drop.
And they have a bit of funk as well.
Makes sense.
Obviously, it's in the name, Dumpsta Funk. And last up, we have Eggy.
Also never heard of.
Never heard of, just know they're a jam band. I think I listened to a song and they play the same scale a lot. And then I was like, okay, that sounds like a jam band. It's a jam band. Let's put them in there. I'm going to go ahead and throw in another one of the artists who we did not put a circle around just because they didn't really fit in any of the other ones. But it's Odin and Fatso.
Who under Dumpsta Funk?
They are a funk house group.
I classified them like funk house. It's hard to classify some of these people that we don't know because we only know them based off of maybe 5 songs that we've listened to. So I personally said like funk house.
Sounds like there might be some overlap with some of the funkier jam bandy stuff. Let's knock out these two real quick.
Okay.
There's 2 that are like electric violins, electro twang. I heard it be called Swamp Tronica, and they're actually really close to each other on the lineup. Dixon's Violin,
who we did see a little bit of last year, and super good.
It's like Lindsay Sterling.
She's just electronic violin at this point.
Okay, so yeah, similar to her then. And then the other one is Dirtwire. Just listen to a few of their songs. That's how they describe themselves, was electric violin, Swamp Tronica. Let's do techno.
So he can break my heart.
There's only 2 techno artists on this lineup.
Straight techno.
Straight techno. We'll get into tech house in a little bit. First one is, of course, Charlotte DeWitt.
Who I think some people would argue is tech house, but everything I've seen and heard, I would classify more toward techno.
And the other one is White Fang. This is Alice in Wonderland side projects.
Self-proclaimed techno.
But it's more on the experimental side too. Like it teeters almost like experimental trap stuff. That's the for sure confirmed techno.
Let's go to tech house because these people do a lot of techno, they do a lot of house. It's an easy transition, I'd say.
The first one of them being
Green Velvet. Green Velvet's amazing. Go see Green Velvet.
Yeah, formerly like all techno has like teetered more towards tech house now.
Yeah.
Then next up, DJ Tennis. I looked into him a little bit. It was just straight tech house. Techno sounds with a house beat. Put it together. What does that make? Tech house. And then last up is Will Clark.
He's also very difficult to classify in my opinion, but tech house is really what the vibes I've gotten from him.
Let's keep with the house then. We'll just go bass house real quick. That's a little bit more easy to pinpoint. Yeah. First up from that, we have Matroda.
Matroda's one of my favorite artists. Amazing bass artist. Like if you like Wax Motif, you like AC Slater, you're gonna love Matroda.
Yep, he's right in that same vein. Very fun, energetic sets with some like really dark, heavy sounds.
And he throws a lot of Latin pop into his sets as well, which I think is very interesting because there's a very thin line between doing that kind of sound in-house really well and not, and he does it amazingly.
And keep that Latin influence in mind when we talk about some other genres too, because there's a lot of Latin influence on this lineup.
It's cool.
If you like Matroda, then you could probably connect him to these other artists.
Yeah.
Next up in bass house, we have Ranger Trucco. Jawz, you looked into this person?
Did I?
Yeah.
I guess so. I don't remember that name, but sure.
But bass house.
Sounds like bass house
That's
to me.
it.
I would be the one to know.
Next up, we have Abo. I like them. They definitely had like a bass house feel to it. Again, the darker sounds. It almost teetered a little tech house, but I would categorize it more towards bass house.
More towards bass? That's
Yeah.
fair. We're just going to stay in house for a while. There's a lot of house, so just...
Everybody get in. We're getting in the house. You're in our house now. Next up is Prog House. Big name on there is Ben Bomber.
Amazing.
Very amazing live. When I think of Prog House, I think of like Lane 8.
Prog House, I would say I probably think more of like Deadmau5.
Rufus Du Sol is like kind of in that area as well. Think of that like big emotional.
Maybe I just think of Prog House more as like the deeper tech Prog House.
Right, like Deadmau5.
The stuff that I like.
It's all fucking ambiguous.
Yeah.
Don't come at us.
Ben Bomber, amazing though. There's a YouTube video that our former roommate showed us where he's doing a set in a hot air balloon. It's a really good set and cool. Really cool views.
Ben Bomber live above Cappadocia in Turkey for Circle. Look that up on YouTube. It's awesome. Next up is Cassian. He actually was like a producer for Rufus Du Sol for a little bit, I read. And now he's like doing his own thing. He was like doing behind the scenes stuff for Rufus. Cool. Apparently he's off on his own now. Also, we have Le Youth.
Le Youth. Very Prog House. Yeah, I guess I'd say Le Youth's a lot like Lane 8, so that makes sense.
Then Michael Brune.
Yeah, listened to a couple songs. Definitely was the easiest place, I think, to put him.
Do you want to just throw Sultan and Shepard in there too? They're trance. They're the only trance person on this lineup so far.
I just want to clarify that they're not the only trance people. They're the only straight trans people that aren't, well, not straight. I don't know if they're gay. They're the only like pure trans, right. But I would say they probably are closer to Lane 8.
Let's throw Sultan and Shepard in there too.
No Circle for Sultan and Shepard, also very good. Let's talk about the other trans, Psytrance. No Circle for them, Vinovici, which has recently just been touring with one or the other of them. So super high energy. One of the probably best sets we saw at EDC 2021. If you want something high energy, I don't know what stage they're going to be at, but they're going to have to be at a big stage because it's going to be a wild time.
I hope they're at the Carousel Club. I think that would be perfect.
It would be. That's a lot of lights.
They're the only Psytrance person on this.
So far.
Let's keep going with house. This is just like pure house.
Easiest way to classify it. Lots of boots and caps.
Very vanilla, not too much craziness going on.
When we say vanilla, we mean it's your classic sound.
Starting off with Dom Doll and John Summit, but everything always back-to-back that they're doing. Just straight house that jumps right into John Summit.
Who, you know, you guessed it, house.
He's house music. Let's keep it moving here. We got A Craze. You know him from that.
Do It To It.
Do It To It, thank you.
You're welcome.
The Do It To It song. Pure straight house.
Very house.
We're just going to move through these pretty quick.
You're probably going to like all of these artists if you like house in some way, shape, or form.
Then we got Mal P. You know about Mal P.
I do. Drugs in Amsterdam. Hell of a song.
Oh, that great song.
Yeah, I think that's his biggest song at this point in time.
LPGOB as well. That's another one you know about.
Yeah, very house. They just did a remix for Taylor Swift for Uncruel Summer, though, so that's pretty cool.
And then we got It's Murph. Okay, I will say I looked into It's Murph. The songs I listened to were very housey, so I just lumped them in with house. However, his like little ID on Spotify said tech with a side of mellow. I was like, okay, but none of this sounds like tech house. It just sounds like house.
We're just going to put house, and then if we're wrong, It's okay.
Let us know. Next up, we have Paper Water. That was a good one.
Sure. House. I don't remember too much, I don't think, from that. I believe that they were house.
Guys, we listened to all these artists in like 2 days to try and figure out.
It was a lot of artists.
Yeah.
So please give us a bit.
We might be getting our wires crossed a little bit. Then we have Vanessa back-to-back with Nala.
Both consider themselves house artists for the most part from what I was researching. I did listen to both separately. It sounded very housey, and then I looked up what they consider themselves, and house was the overarching. They do kind of span other additional genres, but for the most part, they stay within the house realm.
Last up is West End.
West End, very house. Very house.
Done. That does it with all the house.
There's a lot of house on this lineup.
All the houses have been explored.
Are we in Fallout?
Yes. Let's do some D&B. How about that? Big year for drum and bass at Forest.
It's a good year for drum and bass at Forest.
First up, Knock 2. I don't really know much about Knock 2. I just know he's D&B.
That's all I know. Never really listened to Knock 2. I don't know why. Everybody talks about Knock 2, and it's just not a person that we've listened to. So maybe we'll save that and just go see a set.
Next up, the big one, the big swingers who are having their moment right now. They just announced a U.S. tour, Chasing Status. I'm pronouncing it the British way because they are British. I think they played at Lost Lands last year, and now they're playing E-Forest. They just released their album So Rough Volume 2, I think it is.
Really making a name for themselves out here in the U.S. People are really starting to catch on and notice them a little bit more, which I think is cool.
Next up, Jawz, you know this person.
I am very excited about Dimension being on here because I have seen Subfocus and I've never seen Dimension, but Dimension does songs with Subfocus all the time and on his own, obviously. I really like Dimension's D&B. I have a very specific taste in D&B, I would say, that a lot of other people don't, so I'm like Subfocus, Wilkinson, Dimension, I like.
It's more the emotional...
Yeah, emotional D&B.
uplifting side of D&B. Like, I know Chasing Status is more aggressive, garage type sounds, very
and I'm like, give me
still.
some feelers. I would say Delta Heavy is kind of where I balance between more of the Chasing Status versus Dimension because Delta Heavy goes heavy, but they also have emotional. So Dimension definitely excited for me.
Next up we have Sammy Virgie.
Here's the thing with Sammy Virgie. So everything I researched written down was drum and bass artist, drum and bass artist, drum and bass artist, and then none of the songs that I listened to were drum and bass. They were all different genres. This one is one where they classify themselves as drum and bass. That's why we put it down there. That's kind of a wild card. I don't know. I would just recommend going to listen to them yourself.
And last but not least, we have Venby.
Just straight drum and bass. This one was a very clearly drum and bass
No
person.
ambiguity there.
No, nothing weird like I'm getting house into dubstep into... It was weird. It was a time.
Speaking of dubstep, you want to get into that?
Dubstep's the biggest.
There's a lot of subgenres of dubstep. We're going to touch on a few of them.
Yeah.
I just lumped them all into dubstep just for posterity.
Yeah, it's just bass music. So when we're saying dubstep, we're really meaning heavy-hitting bass music at this point.
Color-wise, I lumped all of them together except for the more psychedelic wubs, as I called it, which are going to be their own color, which we'll get to after we get through the main dubstep one, but we'll talk about some of the different parts of dubstep here,
so
too.
some of these are subgenres in dubstep.
Right. First up, Subtronics. You know him. You love him.
Subtronics, yeah. I'm like, we don't have to...
Is he rhythm? Is he not? I don't give a shit. He's dubstep for sure.
Yeah. He's bass music.
He's bass music.
For sure.
For sure. Then, of course, the other heavy hitter, Excision.
Yep, he is dubstep.
Brostep, if you want. Like, we could call him Brostep. Then we have Gigantic Nightmare. It's like trap, but it's like funk. It's like grizz, so it's still in that realm.
Funk step.
That's a great name for it. Funk step. We'll put it there.
Very bassy, and you all know Nightmare gets bassy, even though he's a trap artist.
Even though he's technically trap.
This is the transcending genres thing we keep talking about.
Exactly. Then we have Black Tiger Sex Machine,
who also is not straight dubstep. They play Lost Lands, so they're definitely in the dubstep category for me.
They can be more melodic at times too, right?
They can be melodic. They also throw electro house in there. Like they do a lot of stuff.
They can be more experimental as well. Next up is Wooly. He's a lot like Excision.
More melodic. I'd say he's probably more in the Adventure Club, Millennium, William Black house.
This isn't house. We're done with house.
Dubstep house.
Next up, we have
Caspa, who I love, who is just classified under dubstep because it's easier, but I did make it very clear to Josh when I was telling him what genre. I'm like, he is UK dubstep.
He's UK dubstep, old school dubstep.
He's old school. He's very wubby. He's probably what people would consider more now is experimental because he has some of those G. Jones sounds, but like Caspa was the OG. He did it first.
Could be teetering more experimental now.
Yeah, I think as things go now, he's probably on that plane.
Then we have Alley Cat. Alley Cat, I described when I was looking into her as like a mix between Alice in Wonderland and Subtronics. The song structure, the singing of Alice in Wonderland, but then like the weird wobbly stuff that Subtronics does. It sounded like you took their two sounds and put them together, and it was Alley Cat. Very cool music. I liked her a lot. Then we have Level Up. Very good live. We've seen her a few times.
Adorable. Love
Adorable.
her.
Great energy. She throws the fuck down. She goes hard.
Tiny.
Very small.
Small woman.
But very fun. We put Hamdi in here. Hamdi's more on the experimental side as well. He's got that very popular song Counting, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Make it all scream if you want some more. Like, push it, watch me work it. I'm perfect. That song. And he's more experimental, kind of akin to Peekaboo, I would say. Then AT Aliens.
Oh, there it is.
There they are, finally. Just jumped over them. They're definitely on the more experimental side. Very heavy. Very weird, very wubby, like a very low end bass.
But always a good time.
They like to mix in a lot of hip hop samples and stuff into their live sets too. Next up, I put Barclay Crenshaw onto this. From what I saw and heard, he is experimental with some hip hop flavor as well.
For those of you who don't know, Barclay Crenshaw is Claude Von Stroke's real name. This is his more experimental, not house side. You like Claude Von Stroke, but you don't want him to be house. This is your set.
We put Lucy in here as well. A lot of her top songs are her dubstep songs. I have not listened to her new album from last year, I think it was, but I think she kind of got away from dubstep.
She went pop for a while. She wanted to just do pop, and now I think she's kind of coming back over to EDM and just doing whatever the hell she wants, which more power to her.
But we just don't listen to her that much. Then we have Linny. Linny has a song with Peekaboo on Peekaboo's new album, more on the experimental side. And last but not least, we have Jawz. Okay, this might be a controversial one too. Jawz was a trap artist. It was the only like trap artist on the lineup, and it did sound very dubstep-y, kind of like nightmarish. I just went ahead and put him in here. I know trap is different. Not for this video.
This is our video.
It's our video.
You just get to tell us we're wrong afterwards.
Exactly. Let's jump into the Psychedelic Wubs. These artists are more melodically driven as opposed to aggressive or more classic dubstep-y type stuff like built around the drop. It's more like spiritual, if you will. First up for that, we have Pretty Lights.
Of course.
Pretty Lights making a comeback. Hasn't dropped the album yet.
I'm excited. We didn't get to see a tour. This is my must-see, even though that's a fight already.
We'll get into that later. And then the new project Siren closing out a stream. They're both very much spiritual people.
Yeah, we'll be at that set.
That's the first time they're playing it. They did announce a Red Rock show as well. Then we have Enzo. Enzo has gone on tour with Ella Stream a few times now. Everyone knows the song Overthinker. That's his biggest song.
Very nice guy.
Just met him.
I didn't meet him. Super nice. Definitely deserving of what he's got so far.
And then we have Maddie O'Neill. So Maddie O'Neill I originally had under dubstep, I think. But I listened to her stuff. Her top song was a song with Closey that she did. I listened to a few other of her songs that sounded exactly in that realm. So I moved her over to this group. Let's go with Afro Tech.
Afro Tech, Afro House. We're kind of combining. So Afro Tech House. Kind of ambiguous thing where they're very much tech house artists, but they have a lot of those Afro beats. A lot of them do classify themselves as Afro Tech or Afro House.
And there was some overlap with like some Latin influences as well. First up, we had Calusa. Calusa was an Afro Tech duo, and they had a lot of Afro Tech influences. They had some Latin influence as well, but they were very fun. And next up, we have Major League DJs.
Somebody I looked up, very progressive house with a lot of Afro House influences. They also consider themselves Prog House, Afro House, so that's why we ultimately put them here.
And then Tisha.
I showed you one of those songs, and I was like, oh, I think you'd really like this person. Also one that I would say is very progressive house in a lot of ways, but with those Afro House influences behind them.
We have Rawayana. They are just straight up like a Latin pop group. They were great. Their stuff was very high energy, very fun to listen to, very engaging. Again, it was like pop music, so it was like structured pretty well. I think they would fit in well with this Afro Tech group. I could be totally wrong. Let's start with indie. So Cannon's Fire For You was Cannon's top song on Spotify. I knew that song. They're very good. They're kind of like ethereal indie rock type stuff. Very light vocals, some nice bass grooves. Very fun. Next up, we have Cuco. Cuco is doing a DJ set though, so you can take what I say and probably throw it right out the window because I don't think he's ever done
Correct.
a
We've
DJ
been
set.
told that he's never done a DJ set by our same former roommate and friend.
He kind of spanned a lot of genres when I was listening to him, but I ultimately put him in indie rock. He did have a Latin influence, like he sings a lot, and Spanish. I saw him described as like bedroom pop. He was very fun. I liked his music a lot. Next up, we have Drama.
It says Indie Tronica.
Indie Tronica. Think of like Shy Wolf, I guess.
Bank.
bank, somewhere in that vein. Next up, we have Neil Francis. Took a note here that he's big wild-esque. A lot of high singing, kind of like bank too, honestly.
Yeah.
Last up, we have the Peachtree Rascals.
They are an alternative indie band, is what they consider themselves. From what I listen, definitely indie, I don't know, maybe Plain White T's-esque in a way. That's kind of a weird comparison, so please take that with a grain of salt. I only listened so far.
I'll take your word for it. We got hip-hop and R&B, put those together because they go hand in hand a lot of the time. Obviously, Ludacris, who I am most excited to see.
That's our biggest argument right now, is Pretty Lights versus Ludacris. If there's a set conflict.
Hopefully there's not.
Because I won't be at Ludacris.
Because I will be at Ludacris.
That will be my sober day, and I think I will be by myself, and all of the fam that we're going with will be at Ludacris. Yeah. So if anybody needs to adopt somebody that wants to go see Pretty Lights, let me know.
Yeah, let Jawz know. Hopefully there is no set conflict. Next up, Nelly Furtado. Haven't seen her name in a while.
No, she just started popping back up here in the past year, so
I'm cool with
good
it.
for her.
I would see that set for sure. Then we have Kenny Beats. Kenny Beats does a lot of shit, but he has recently pivoted into being producer for specifically hip-hop artists. All his top songs were hip-hop, but I know he does a bunch of different shit. I just lumped them in with this category because, again, it's all subjective. Who cares?
Sounds good.
Next is Libyanka. I believe she was on The Voice. She is a very soulful singer, like an R&B belter, had some nice groove to it as well. Although I will say her top 4 songs on Spotify were all like variations of the same song. And so like literally I was midway through the third one. I was like, this is the same thing again.
It took me the same exact song.
I was like, I listened to the same song 3 times. One of them was sped up. One of them had like a different feature on it. And I was like, oh, okay,
That's
hold
funny.
on. I want to hear some more music from her, but she was very good from what I did here. And last up we have Coco and Breezy. They were kind of spanning genres as well. They sang a lot too, a lot of R&B stuff, but they had like some Afro Tech influence as well, so you can put them in with that group. Literally their Spotify bio said they purposefully mashed up those genres as much as they could. Let's quickly go over the ones that are not on here.
I believe we didn't do Mascolo or Slater.
The last 2 we have not talked about.
Both are in the pop sphere.
Mascolo we have on here as pop, and I said they're like Rawayana or Cuco. I don't know why I wrote that. Maybe it's in that realm. I don't know.
Then our final one is Slater with 3 Ys. When I looked up Slater, I listened to the music, and it was very hyper pop to me, like a lot of electronic influence. However, Slater says that they would like to consider themselves very pop. I still have it down as hyper pop because in my opinion, that's what it sounds like more. It had more energy than just normal pop music. Pop music is like what's on the radio, and it was very much not something that, I mean, not something that couldn't be on the radio, but not something that I consider radio-esque music. So I'm gonna still say hyper pop.
And that was it. We talked about everybody else on here. Again, this is phase 1. I'm gonna post these, but genre by genre. So like, it'll just be like just the green circles for jam bands.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that.
We will be doing phase 2 and phase 3 probably. If phase 3 is worth doing, we will do phase 3.
Well, yeah, we will come back for phase 2.
Probably in March.
I think last time they added 40 artists. This is the first time we're doing this like festival tree type thing. I think that's what I'm calling it, as a festival tree.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because you can just branch off from all the other artists.
Oh, no, I was thinking because it's Electric Forest and there's the Giving Tree.
Oh, right, okay. That too. It works in many ways. We might do it for other lineups. Festival drops, other lineup drops, festival lineups.
Probably not like individual artists because they're usually going to go with people that are in their realm.
Right,
so.
exactly. But big festivals, multi-genre festivals, we can like break it down and explore the undercard a little bit just to help people, because that was the goal, was to like show people new music. Hopefully you like this. If you do, let us know. If we're wrong, let us know. We just want to try this. And we went with one that we know we like. So hopefully you guys like this. I don't know. We might. I would like to do this again with different festivals.
Let us know what you did and didn't like about it. Let us know your disagreements, because we'll listen to them. Especially if it's somebody we don't know well, you're like, no, that's way wrong, or we pronounce somebody's name wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Please just tell us, because we only have so much information.
Yeah, and so much time, because we're trying to get this out like pretty quick. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do. We appreciate it. We hit 100 subscribers on YouTube recently.
Ooh.
I've been trying to balance a lot more stuff, like different smaller ideas. Yeah. Things and stuff.
Things and stuff.
Thank you.
Boots and cats and boots and cats.
Boots and cats. House music.
Wub wub wub. Uns.
Uns. A lot of house.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye. Love you. Bye. Two Umster Dumpster Funk.
Two Umster Funk.
Two Umster Dumpster Funk. Let's go to
the mall.
The mall.
Roommate, ex-roommate,
former
friend.
roommate. Former roommate. Ex-roommate sounds terrible.
Yeah, that does.
Chasing status, not status. Ooh, yuck. Get it out of here. But speaking of experimental, let's get on to That's not who I was thinking of.
That's Wooly.
That's not who I thought was next.
I'm like, Wooly's not experimental.
No, Wooly is not experimental. Well,
where did you think we were going?
I thought we were going to AT Aliens next.
Oh boy, that's out of order.
Probably going to cut that out. Cut that.